Good morning, everyone. So we'll be presenting on migration as a broad topic, and I'll be covering the introduction of migration with stakeholders, and Aaron will be talking about migration draft bill 2021, and Shanvi Satti will be talking about Denmark's refugee policy. Migration is the movement of people from one place to another with the intention of resettlement, employment, education, better standard of living, etc. Migration is of two types: internal, within the same country or state, and external, from one country to another. Migration could also be voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary migration is for education, employment, etc., which was covered earlier. However, involuntary migration could be caused by invasion, conquest, natural disasters, etc. This gives rise to international migrants, which are further classified as legal migrants, which move with legal permission, illegal migrants moved without legal permission, and refugees, those who crossed an international boundary to escape persecution, war, or natural disasters. Stakeholders for migration are states, regional institutions, international organizations, civil societies, private sector actors, migrants, and members of diaspora.
All right. So when we talk about the arguments and the debates, we have two kinds. On one end, I'll be presenting the domestic and within the nation itself. So the labor crisis of 2020 spurred a national debate on the working conditions and protection of our domestic migrants. And in response to these nationwide and worldwide concerns, Niti Aayog prepared this draft in March 2021. The bill primarily focused on two approaches. One, focus on the cash transfer, special quotas, and reservations for the migrants. And on the other hand, it enhances the agency and capability of the community and thereby remove aspects that come in the way of an individual's own natural ability to thrive. Now, for the latter part that I just explained, the draft lays down mechanisms to coordinate between ministries, states, and local departments to implement programs for migrants. Binish, can you just go to the next screen? Thank you. So these are the stakeholders that I was talking about. Number one is the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Now, as per the draft, the MLE will be the nodal ministry for implementation of policies. The migration focal points in various ministries, wherein labor departments of source and destination states along major migration corridors should work together through the migrant worker cells. The third is the role of panchayats in the aid of migrant workers, where its core functions would be to maintain a database of migrant workers, issue identity cards and passbooks, and provide migration management and governance to training, placement, and social security benefit assurance. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs should address issues of night shelters, short stay homes, and seasonal accommodation for migrants in cities, something that was very crucial last year as well. The Ministry of Education should take measures under the Right to Education Act to mainstream migrant children's education, to map migrant children, and to provide local language teachers in migrant destinations. Last, the draft recommends is the National Legal Services Authority, that is the NALSA, and Ministry of Labor should set up grievance handling cells and fast-track legal responses for trafficking, minimum wage violations, and workplace abuses and accidents for migrant workers. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I'll be talking about the Denmark anti-immigration policy. So Denmark has recently passed a law enabling it to process asylum seekers outside Europe. So under the new law, asylum seekers would be flown to a faraway third country outside Europe to have their cases reviewed regardless of where they are from. And one such option appearing is Rwanda, which signed a diplomatic agreement in March with Denmark. So Denmark already has a very low number of asylum applications every year, but the government is so dedicated to reduce the number further to zero that it has come up with such a strict anti-immigration policy. And it remains unclear how an external reception center would be administered, and whether it will be under the Danish jurisdiction or the third country's jurisdiction. But either way, Denmark still has a legal responsibility to ensure that the rights of people transferred to such a camp are protected and not violated. The policy has been greatly criticized by the international community, and it is believed that moving the asylum process to countries with fewer resources will undermine the safety and welfare of refugees and will compromise with their human rights. Now, talking about the stakeholders of this policy, the first is the Denmark government who came up with the law and passed it, the Danish Ministry of Immigration and Integration, the Rwanda government, as it can possibly be a place for the asylum seekers, the migrant home country and the migrants, since they are the ones being directly affected by the policy, and the United Nations. Now, coming on the research topics. So my research topic is interstate welfare schemes for migrants. So during the lockdown, we have seen about the migrant crisis, and I have realized how intense and it was hard for the migrants since they had no work and had a family to feed. And I feel sad seeing this because the migrant really comes from another place and contributes a lot in a state's development, yet he is provided nothing in return. And most of the benefits are rendered to the locals, and nobody really talks about the migrants. So there are obviously many schemes, welfare measures for the migrant workers, but the issue that relating to the delivery of the benefits of these policy, that remains unaddressed. So this is my topic. Now Alron will be sharing his topic.
All right. So my topic is India's need for a refugee policy. So as I presented earlier, this is a policy idea that I've been working on. And so as we have seen that with respect to domestic migrants, India does have a systematic approach. And even with the migrant draft bill, they're taking one step ahead. But for some reason, we are still lagging behind for refugee policy. And there are many reasons, and all the reasons that can be tackled easily. So in the policy draft that I'll be working on for next week, I give a detailed account of how we can tackle the current arguments again and why India needs a refugee policy. Binish?
So my topic is impact of immigration on education, and I'll be highlighting the issues, how immigration affect native education as well as the education for migrants, and how we can come up with policies to help both native citizens and migrants get better education. Thank you.